We are all looking to improve our lives. Some are looking merely to improve their material well-being. Others are looking to improve their emotional well-being. Others are looking to improve their spiritual well-being. What's the difference? All looking to improve. What's the difference between someone who's looking to merely improve their physical well-being and to someone who's looking to improve their spiritual well-being? You need to take action in both instances, right? You need to do something. You have to work on something. Of course, your physical well-being is a natural thing that you want to improve because we are, after all, more physically minded, naturally so. We have five senses, and those five senses naturally make me more attuned to my physical needs. Maturity is, growth is, evolving is that I'm looking to take care of my spiritual needs. That's a true refinement of character. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. I'm afraid I'm not seeing any of the posting. There seems to be some kind of challenge here. So I can see it on Instagram, but not on the other networks. Giving, being charitable, has many unique qualities to it. We've spoken often. The Alter Rebbe is taught much in Igeris HaKodesh, in the holy letters, about being charitable. In this letter, letter 21, we conclude today, speaking further about being charitable. And yesterday was about alacrity, swiftness. Don't wait and hold off to give. Give as early as you can. Or if you're devoted, in this case, the Alter Rebbe is collecting monies for the Holy Land of Israel, for the people there that were very destitute. Give it weekly or monthly, rather than giving it merely one time at the end of the year. And now he goes to give another explanation about Maisa Tzedakah, Avodas Tzedakah, the service of charity, and the wondrous virtue that it has, that when you do the act of charity numerous times, right? Now it's constantly giving. So let's say you have decided to give $1,000, right, to tzedakah. So you could give it in one shot, right? Or give it frequently. That's more praiseworthy to do it. Now, in the end, it's the same total. So you might think, well, giving it one time, it's like really giving. If I did 1,000 times $1, it doesn't feel like I really gave. But I write a check one time, $1,000, I really feel like I gave, right? So, says the Alter Rebbe, bringing from Maimonides, that a person is judged by the multiplicity of action. Now, you're not judged by one act, but multiple acts. So if you're giving in a manner of multiplicity rather than one time, even though it's the same amount, but you're constantly giving, so then you're going to be judged more favorably. Now, for what reason? What is the understanding over here? What makes it praiseworthy is because when you give once, the act of one-time giving, how much did you change your psyche? How much did you change your behavior? One time. When you did it 1,000 times, you've changed your behavior 1,000 times. Rather than being self-absorbed, self-directed, thinking about yourself, here you did a mitzvah and gave and gave and gave and gave. So you're going to refine yourself much more so by the multiplicity of action. That's the first point. Furthermore, not only are you, and that's based on the Rambam, Maimonides, right? The refinement of the soul by the multiplicity of the act of giving. By the way, to bring this point across, when our children were very young, so we would give them a coin daily, and they would put it into a pushka. When they would see money, they would call it tzedakah or daka if they were like 2 years old and they, couldn't pronounce it. That's a bit of a challenge, that one, right? So they would call it tzedakah. They would call it charity money because that's because of the multiplicity of actions. So they looked at money from a very young age as just a tool for giving. Amazing. That's a true refinement. Now it's really, on a deep subconscious level because they're not aware of it, but you're making the subconscious psyche one that money, what do they see it? Not the root of all evil, not as a, self-centered manner that I could gain power, but it's tzedakah, charity. That's what it is. That's it. Again, and the reason for that was the multiplicity of action. They didn't just give, once a month or a big amount once a year. No, every day. Ooh, it went out. Hold on. Oh, no, it's there.
How come you're so bold?
Okay. Where are you watching it?
This all
Oh.
bold letters in the next paragraph.
What? I don't know. Anyway. Now, the verse says that the effect, so this is the refinement, right? And the verse says the effect of tzedakah is for life. Well, you've improved your life. You've refined your life. So that is the simple meaning. Based on Maimonides' teachings, that would go a little more mystical understanding of the virtue of tzedakah, of charity. The mystical consequence of giving is you elicit and draw down the supernal life, God, who is the fountainhead of all of life. And where do you bring that life to? The land of life, which is, of course, in spiritual terms, Malchus Avatzilus, right? Land is the lowest thing. Malchus is the 10 and the last of the 10 divine attributes. So you draw down from the fountainhead of life, God, right? You bring into Malchus of Atzilus that drawing down of that energy, that life, right? And that in turn is the divine presence. The Shekhinah is Malchus, the divine presence of God. And the divine presence of God is Ata, you, is the you of God. And when we refer to him in the divine attributes, you, Ata Mechayes Kulam, you give life to all. Ata is spelled Aleph, Taf, Hey. Aleph is the first letter of the Aleph base. Taf is the last letter, right? It means all the letters, in other words, Aleph through Taf. And Hey is the 5 organs of speech. Lips, teeth, tongue, palate, and larynx are what we use to pronounce words, right? Together with the verbalized words, which is the power of God that he animates and gives life to everything. And what does that come from? Malchus. Malchus is royalty. King, he rules with his word. Okay? This is God who gives life to and animates it all, right? That Shekhinah, that's the Shekhinah of the divine presence. That Shekhinah now is also identified as in the holiday of Sukkot, the Suka of David that has fallen. Now, hopefully, we won't have strong winds that our sukkahs will fall. We'll have beautiful sukkahs. But what is a sukkah metaphorically? Of David means the holy temple. Just like a sukkah is a holy place, right? On the holiday of Sukkot is a holy place to be. The divine presence of God is there, encompassing us in the sukkah with the schach right overhead. So likewise, the Beis Hamikdash is a holy place that God encompasses, and His Shekhinah is there. It has fallen, meaning it's been destroyed, right? And where did it go, the Shekhinah then? It went into exile, to Edom. The Shekhinah went with us into exile. Edom is Rome, referring to Rome, which was the Roman Empire that destroyed the Second Holy Temple in the year 6970 of the Common Era. And the Shekhinah now went into exile. So it's fallen. It's impoverished, the Shekhinah. You know what tzedakah does? Arouse the Shekhinah that's been impoverished, that's been in exile, and brings it back, right, to its proper place in the divine order of things. Why tzedakah? Because tzedakah is about giving to those who don't have. So that reflects above to the Shekhinah too that doesn't have, and you are giving to it, right? That it should be now animated, right? To revive the humbled Shekhinah, because you revived an individual who's humbled. And this is especially true when people all offer voluntarily to sustain the inhabitants of the actual land of life in physical sense, which is Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. The heavenly land of life, right, which corresponds to the heavenly land of life, Malchus of Atzilus. As the Alter Rebbe says, Daila Maven, this will suffice for those who understand. Right? If you're inspired by this, now, and this then we'll appreciate the profound words of the sages that everything is judged according to the multitude of action, which we said initially. In other words, because the multitude of action, what happens now? What you're doing in the multitude of action, you're each time reviving the Shekhinah, right? Each time you're doing that, you just take a money and put it into a pushka, right? You are reviving the Shekhinah that has been humbled and is in exile, and you are reviving it. So the repeated action of doing it is an amazing thing, because now what you're eliciting is on high the supernal union between Kodesh Brichu and Shechinte, which the Holy One, blessed be He, and His divine presence. Divine presence is in exile. Well, you're through your tzedakah, you're reviving that, the Shekhinah, the feminine part of the divine, that it should now reunite with the supernal, with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the male part of God, the Holy One, blessed be He, right? And you are now bringing that union about, meaning you're bringing a new divine light into this world as a result, which is also then similar to the idea of what Maimonides wrote, that the refining of the soul. And as the Zohar explains, that the Shekhinah is also called soul, because it is our life and our soul. Wow. So in other words, through this act, you're truly refining yourself. And that refinement of self is soul, which is the soul. The Shekhinah itself is soul. You're bringing that Shekhinah, that union above, which is then being affected by drawing down the source of life through, again, Malchus of Atzilus, right? And bringing that down into this world, into us. And this is why our sages now say, to top this all off, great is charity because it brings redemption near. Because what are you doing when you're doing charity? You're taking the impoverished Shekhinah that has been humbled and you're raising it up back to Kucha Brichum, to a supernal union that it's creating. And from every union brings new life, right? It's just like male and female down here, a union brings life, or the potential of life at least, right? So here you're bringing real life because it's now being united with the source of life. And as a result, you're bringing new light into this world, which means you're bringing the redemption closer. And that's specifically with tzedakah. Do you do it with tefillin? Yes. But it's not as clear a connection, right, to the Shekhinah, the divine presence. But we're doing that, absolutely. But here we're speaking specifically about charity and how we're doing it through charity. And until Yavai Shilai, when Mashiach comes, that the Shekhinah then will be reinstated in its pristine height, in its place, in a permanent way, forevermore. Yes, come Mashiach in the third temple. Wow. Like powerful. If you got that, you're amazing.
You're not doing the appendix, right?
Now, I don't see questions. Again, I don't know what happened over here, but for some reason.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So I thought the Shekinah still resided in Israel because we just learned earlier today that it didn't that it would never be banished from there. So
A remnant of it is.
remnant
A
of it.
remnant of it is,
Okay.
yes.
But like,
But it's
all-
still, what was it? A remnant of it is, excuse me, Israel? What's Israel today? Is it in Golus? Is it in exile? Of course it is.
Yeah.
Exile's only in Montreal? Huh?
No.
No. Israel's in exile just like we are. It's still the Holy Land. It's still remnants of the Shekhinah are more palpable there, but it's still in exile.
Yeah.
The Shekhinah is in exile. What's the proof? The proof is that we're fighting a war right now. The Shekhinah were not in exile. We would have Mashiach here, and there'd be no more war.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because the divine presence would be very real and palpable, that it would not be possible for us, not for us, but for anybody in the world to raise a sword. Their swords will be beaten into plowshares, right? That's what's going to happen. So we're just trying to quicken that process by defeating the enemy now. Now the enemy is, for its evil, needs to be eradicated, because evil needs to be eradicated before Mashiach comes. So, we have a choice. We have a choice. Either we eradicate our own evil, or ultimately the evil will ensnare us. Either evil people will eradicate their own evil, or if it's standing up against another to destroy them, then you're obligated to destroy that evil. And that's what we're doing today. That clear? Powerful stuff.